I'm very privileged to announce the father-son duo from Look to Innovate, who'll be talking to us about creating some magical immersive experiences. So lovely. Thank you very much. Over to you guys.
Introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. We're Look to Innovate. I'm in charge of innovation. That basically means I'm looking to create new products for our product line. So what we do is we create audiovisual equipment for museums. This means audio guides and more stuff, but we will show you soon. And this is my dad.
So I'm the owner, CEO of the company. And here we have one product which you can see in my hand that has been nominated for the Innovator of the Year. And we're here a little bit to introduce the idea of what it brings and how the way it brings it, and how we believe such experience should be built, and some thoughts about it. So I let Michael talk.
Yeah, so we're going to go in the context of how we think and go about creating magical experiences. And let's go, and I'll show you first an example of what we have in Barcelona for a project called Casa Batlló. So this is an architectural wonder in the city center. And instead of just letting people walk around the cool place, which is a building with cool architecture, we want people to feel the vibe that the architect had in mind. So Gaudi, he had this idea in mind, and how did we convey this to the visitors? And they used this all-in-one headset audio guide. So all the visitors have is just the headset, and it will trigger automatically as people walk around the building with a light show, everything synchronized, and a narrator. So here's the video. As the visitor walks through the experience, a narrator tells them stories about the different parts and the different thinking. And the narrator is in different languages. So for each visitor, like the Spanish visitor, he'll hear it in Spanish. And the idea is to keep this as simple as possible for the visitor, but also keep the feeling of wonder. So keeping the visitor immersed. He doesn't have to worry about everything. He just walks. And yeah, this is important because without this, Casa Batlló would have a hard time justifying their entry price of more than 45 euros. But with this, it helps create an additional experience that otherwise wouldn't be there. We have two models. One is a hygienic version that doesn't touch the air, and one is one that covers the ear for better sound quality. But yeah, all right. And we have several projects in action. So Casa Batlló, they have more than 800 units. We're currently starting a project in India for a temple with about 700 units. So these are really quite large-scale projects. And we will show you how we think about the entire life cycle of making this work. So to start, what is magic? Well, I can tell you for us what magic is. These are experiences where the person is present. So we want people to visit museums or exhibitions or experiences and be present without distractions. And that's part of the reason we are somewhat against bring your own device, because if people have their smartphones, they're distracted and they're not present. And we want people as present as possible, not thinking about their worries at home or at work. And this is how we go about creating magic and how we go about designing our products in a way that enables this. So there are two main things that we think about. One is, how can we play with the senses? In the end, this is about creating a human experience. And a human experience comes from our 5 senses. And so how do we go about using those senses to create this experience? And the second is how we take a holistic approach to thinking about these experiences. And I think these two can also be useful for you if you create your own experiences, just as a mental model to approach this. So let's start with playing with senses. We play with vision, hearing, and touch in that interactivity. And we don't really touch taste and smell because that's not practical for our use case. But we don't just go about stimulating these senses, because obviously if you just stimulate these senses, people will just be overwhelmed. We want to do it in a way that makes sense. And what does that mean? It means making sure that these are coordinated in a way that adds value to the visit. For example, our headset is obviously an audio device, but we want this coordinated with the visuals. So in Casa Batlló, as someone enters the room, a specific narration starts to play. Or another example of a project we did was, it's a Pharaoh exhibit, and as the narrator explains, for example, a chest in the corner of the room, the light will shine on that chest. So the coordination matters because it helps the visit make sense. And the same for interactivity. You can have kiosks, and as the user interacts with kiosks, it synchronizes with the headsets, and based on the interactions, the person hears different things. So playing with senses is important, but playing with senses in a way that's coordinated and makes sense is even more important. And that's why we design these devices to take that into account. The second aspect of creating magic is really thinking of the visit in a holistic way. So thinking of from A to Z, what is the visit life cycle? It starts with when the visitor comes to the visit, so arrives, gets the devices distributed. It goes through the experience, it goes to the end of the visit, and it goes beyond. And I'll show you how we go about thinking about this. It's important that every step is smooth and cozy and feels good. So the visitor comes. You had these earpieces when you came here. Well, that was the distribution, right? So they have a workflow here to distribute the earpieces. It's important that goes smoothly. If you come to a visit and then they're fiddling with different tech tools and you're confused and you don't know how to use them, that kind of already gives you a bad taste for the experience. So it's important that for us, distribution is as smooth as possible. What that means is we've developed modular charging systems that are easy to manage. So basically, you just put in the guide, take it out, give it to the visitor, tell him to wear it and walk through the visit. There's nothing as seamless as that. And that was part of our thinking process behind making this all in one. For example, with traditional audio guides, you have to explain to them to press buttons, or bring your own device. You have to explain to them to use QR codes, and then they have to think, oh, how do I scan a QR code? Sometimes it's not just the camera app. So we try to make this as seamless as possible. We also want to make it easy for the people distributing the guides. For example, to set the language. Since visitors come from different places and then their narrations are in different languages, we have a relatively simple system where you take the guides, you put them in a box, it will auto-set all the guides into that language. In Casa Batlló, for example, we've got hundreds of visitors every hour. So we've got a throughput of a lot of people. And so this enables us to really manage this smoothly. After distribution, it's the actual experience. And this is the main part of the magic. It's what I was talking about, where we use all 3 senses in a coordinated way to create something that makes sense. But it goes beyond that. It goes to creating something that's reliable. So we don't want the visit to be interrupted for a technical reason, or if something doesn't work. We want to make sure it's smooth. Now I'm going to show you another example of Roger Mistral, which is a site in France that uses the twister.
May I a little bit explain about Rocher Mistral? Rocher Mistral is a 15th century castle in Aix-en-Provence. It's north of Marseille. And they transformed the whole castle into a multimedia experience. So the main castle, you enter it, and from room to room, you might have projections, you might even have plays, and you might have 360 projections. So the whole experience is kind of a Disneyland that takes you, in a voyage through that castle. And this experience was originally designed for French visitors. And then they realized, okay, but we have also foreigners coming. They cannot just listen to all the experience in French. And looking for a solution, they chose exactly the twister. And you will see here a video about that experience and how this is done. In addition, one thing important, in addition to the internal visits, there are outdoor visits. You might have plays outdoor, and in the evening, in this beautiful large garden, you have sound and light show. For all these experiences, you use the same unit, which is the twister. And here you will see this summary video.
Here it's important to note, just like Casabatio, this is a seamless experience from start to end. And that's what we want. People wear the headset, they walk through, things trigger automatically, but they also synchronize to the visuals. So these are the senses in sync. So we made sure that this has a long battery life for this, because you don't want the person to be in the middle of a light show and the thing dies. And we also made sure it's robust, so you can twist it as much as you want. People will try to do that, especially kids, but we've designed that for it. Now, after the experience is the collection. So at the end, people have to return the devices, and this is just as important as the distribution. It's as simple as taking it and putting it back into the charging case. The charging case is just something where you put the device and it hooks onto it magnetically. We also have an alarm system, because in most cases, people don't want to steal the device. They just accidentally walk out with it. So we design it in a way where it's discreet, where it gives us gentle reminder to people to return the device. But for us, a holistic approach goes beyond the A to the Z. And this is something that I want you guys to think about for your own experiences. How can you go beyond your visit and create value even after they leave? For us, this means first and foremost, gathering insights and presenting those insights to the visitors. So we collect the data from the guides. So this data on where people have been stopping, how long have they been engaged, and we upload this to a web platform. So this is actually a web platform I did myself, but basically it summarizes and it shows you what languages people have been listening to, how long have they been engaged to each section of the visit. And you can that way identify like parts that seem boring for the visit and improve it. And with this, you can end up having this very useful feedback loop where you collect data, the data gets converted into insights that are visible from this website. And from the insights, you can then improve your visit. For example, if exhibit number 21, the room with the sculpture, nobody's stopping there, maybe we should put it in a more obvious place. Or if exhibit number 12, people stop midway and leave the room, maybe it's the narration kind of sucks. And with this feedback loop, you can improve your visit and improve the likelihood that people recommend it. Another thing we're doing is we're sending personalized reports based on the data by email of what people may have missed. So this means at the end of the visit, we have these kiosks. The person can put the guide. So this is our traditional audio guide, but you can have stations for these as well. Person attaches the guide, inserts his email, and he'll receive a personalized email based on what he saw, summarizing his visit and giving suggestions of what they could see more. This can also be interesting because you could link this to your web shop, for example, and encourage people to buy things after their visit. So this is how we create magic. And I hope this is useful for your thinking on how to improve your visitor experience, maybe, where one, really we play with the senses in a way that makes sense. And two, we take a holistic approach from the start to the end and beyond. And that's how we thought, and that's how we came up with these devices. We have more than 20 years in the field of experience working with museums all over the world. And from this experience, we built and designed this product. So we made it lightweight because we know that comfort is important. We make sure that the sound is very immersive and 3D without necessarily blocking out the outside world. That's very important. If you're with family, you want to be able to talk to each other and share the experience. We made a long battery life. We made sure that it's robust and can't be broken easily. And yeah, everything else I told you about. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Just opening the floor to any questions if we've got any throughout that. Yes, just at the back there. Thank you very much.
Hi. I was very interested when you were talking about synchronizing the sound with other elements like light and things like that. But my question is about how then that operates with, say, visitor flow. Would you have just things running on a loop and people dip in and out? Or do you need to have like timed entries to experiences in order to make sure it all runs and they see and hear what you want them to?
It is as you wish. You can make it in loops. Any person will enter at any time. It will synchronize. And we have over 25 years experience building interactive experiences, hands-free, location-based. And we built on that, and we have hundreds of sites. And our system is extremely easy to implement, very extremely reliable, and you can synchronize to anything. Like you can synchronize to any video player. You can synchronize to a video, to a computer playing, to a show controller. Really, we cover everything. So it's really no constraints there.
Basically, we have infrared and RF triggers that you can link to show controllers or videos. And you can choose, do you want to play from the start, or do you want to have it synchronized? Or do you want to have it synchronized to the show loop? So we have some events where they control the flow, where they say, wait for it to begin, and then they go. And we have some events where you just walk in a room and it starts from the beginning.
If I may add, the programming tool, the good news is free programming tool, but also is very powerful. And any designer, whatever he wishes, he can do it and easily do it. Like you can say, okay, this message only plays once, or you cannot interrupt it. Like you want to give an introduction, you don't want it to interrupt it, even if the person goes away. And by the way, everything is played from within the audio guide, which guarantees a high quality of the transmission.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Is there any more questions? Yes, right at the front.
Sorry, a really practical one. I'm an architect. What sort of ventilation and requirement for power do you require for the units themselves whilst they're charging?
The charging units?
Yeah,
Is there a ventilation requirement?
yeah.
Actually, the power is so low
Uh-huh.
of charging. It's like charging your phone. It's like really not like the whole thing, 20 units. Let's say, I would say 200 watts.
Mhm.
So it's
Okay,
really
great.
nothing.
Thank you.
No need to ventilate.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Is there any more questions? No? Well, lovely. Oh, yes, there is. Sorry. Just over here.
Hi, just a really quick one. I was just wondering how weatherproof they are. Would they stand out in like torrential rain outside?
Weather. You see, they play it also under rain, All of our units are tropicalized, but I would not recommend using them under rain, and I think they will not play. Actually, this site is outdoor, but it's only running during the season that it's not raining outside. So it is robust. It can sustain humidity, but it's not made under the rain.
Any environment people would tolerate themselves, it's fine.
Lovely. That's great. Thank you very much. Is there any more questions? Yes, there is. Yeah.
Hi, it's a really nice presentation. I really like the device. And just have one question about the data that you collected. So theoretically, you can have the data of when people enter one space and how long they stay, and also how long they stay, interact, and when they leave. Do you get the data from all the sites that you are utilizing your device? Do you share with the museums or with the Casa Batlló, or are you kind of analyzing themselves?
So the web platform is for them. So they collect the statistics themselves, and they have access to the platform themselves. It's just a website, and they can share access with their email, and they can see themselves the latest data.
Right, so they have the access to your website that shows the data.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they can take action based on that directly themselves.
Yeah.
That was the idea behind it.
Yeah. I was like, theoretically, you can just have maybe redesign suggestions or kind of enhanced design suggestions to the museum or to the gallery. So kind of redesign their space based on the visit data.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you do any analytics on yourselves, or have you done any?
Not yet. I mean, we haven't determined how that could be useful.
Right.
But we have millions of data points already, so we could start analyzing and giving.
Yeah, because that's really valuable data, and this really can tell a lot of story. Yeah.
We have a lot of demand on statistics. Our units, beyond those examples that you saw, for example, they are in the 21 major historical sites in France. Centre des Monuments Nationaux, that includes like Mont Saint-Michel or Panthéon, so you have many people visiting, and we provide them with this facility of analytics and analysis. All they need is to go on a website. They see the visitors, they see all the analysis. All they need, they need to collect the data, which is automatically cumulated.
Mm-hmm.
So if you collect the data on one item, on one receiver, and next week you collect again for the same receiver, only the added data will be taken into account.
Sure.
So it's easy to manage also.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There is time for another question if anybody has one. No? Lovely. Well, thank you very much. Just before we give them a round of applause, can I just quickly remind everyone, if you could leave your little green boxes on the chairs or pass them back to my colleagues or myself. Oh,
Can I add that
Yes, of course.
we have our stand R4 next to the cafeteria. So we invite you to test this item And if you have questions, you're welcome as well.
Absolutely. Go and see the guys. Have a go. I want to have a go at the headset myself. Lovely. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.